the life of Patti Boyd, the muse who inspired some of the greatest songs ever written. At 83, Patti is finally opening up about the man she truly loved, and here's the shocker. It wasn't Eric Clapton. This story is full of passion, heartbreak, and revelations that'll leave you stunned. Stick around, because you're not going to want to miss this. Let's get into it. Let's set the stage. Patti Boyd was more than just a model in the 1960s. She was a cultural icon. With her striking looks and free-spirited vibe, she was the face of swinging London, appearing in magazines and rubbing shoulders with the biggest names in music. But it was her relationships with two rock gods, George Harrison of the Beatles and Eric Clapton, that made her a legend. Patti inspired songs like Something, Layla, and Wonderful Tonight, tracks that defined entire careers. For years, the world thought her story was all about George and Eric, a love triangle that rocked the music scene. But now, at 83, Patti's telling a different story, one that flips everything we thought we knew. She's revealing the man who truly held her heart, and it's not who you'd expect. To understand this, we need to go back to the beginning. In 1964, Patti was 20 years old, working as a model, when she landed a small role in the Beatles film A Hard Day's Night. That's where she met George Harrison, the quiet, soulful Beatle. Sparks flew instantly. George was smitten, and Patti was drawn to his gentle charm and deep spirituality. They got married in 1966, and for a while they were rock's golden couple. George wrote something for Patti, a song Frank Sinatra called the greatest love song ever written. But their marriage wasn't all roses. By the late 60s, George was consumed by the Beatles' chaos, diving into meditation and Indian culture, and Patti started to feel neglected. That's when Eric Clapton, George's best friend, entered the picture, and things got complicated. Clapton was already a guitar legend, tearing it up with Cream and Blind Faith. He met Patti through George and fell hard for her. By 1970, his feelings were an obsession. He wrote her a passionate, anonymous letter confessing his love, which Patti later figured out was from him. That letter shook her world. Clapton didn't stop there, poured his heart into Layla, the epic song about unrequited love, with its searing riffs and desperate lyrics. Patti was torn. She was still married to George, but her marriage was crumbling, and Clapton's intensity was hard to ignore. In 1974, she left George and eventually started a relationship with Clapton, marrying him in 1979. The world saw it as a rock and roll fairy tale. Clapton won the girl, and songs like Wonderful Tonight cemented their love story. But Patti's recent revelations at 83 tell a different truth. In interviews and her memoir updates, Patti's been reflecting on her life with a clarity that only comes with age. At 83, she's done with keeping secrets. She said that while she cared deeply for both George and Eric, the man she truly loved wasn't either of them. So, who was it? Patti's pointing to Ronnie Wood, the Rolling Stones guitarist who came into her life during a turbulent time. This is where the story takes a wild turn. Ronnie, known for his laid-back charm and killer guitar skills, was a close friend of both George and Eric. He joined the Stones in 1975, just as Patti's marriage to George was falling apart. During this period, Patti and Ronnie grew close, bonding over their shared experiences in the rock world and their struggles with relationships. Patti said that Ronnie was different from George and Eric. George was soulful but distant, consumed by his spiritual quest. Eric was passionate but intense, battling addiction and jealousy. Ronnie, though, was a breath of fresh air. He was fun, warm, and didn't take life too seriously. Patti's described their connection as easy and real, something she craved after years of drama. They never had a full-on romance. Patti was with Clapton by then, and Ronnie was married, but their friendship had a spark that Patti now says was the closest she came to true love. She's admitted she often wondered what might have been if she'd chosen Ronnie instead. Why Ronnie Wood? Patti's revelations paint a picture of a man who saw her as more than a muse. With George and Eric, Patti often felt like she was living in their shadows, inspiring their music but not always their hearts. George was caught up in his own world, and Eric's love came with possessiveness and turmoil. Ronnie, on the other hand, made her feel valued for who she was, not just what she represented. Patti said that Ronnie's humor and kindness were a lifeline during her darkest moments, like when her marriage to Clapton started to unravel in the 80s. Clapton's struggles with alcohol and infidelity made their relationship rocky, and Patti leaned on Ronnie for support. Those moments stuck with her, and at 83, she's calling Ronnie the one who got away. This confession is a bombshell because it rewrites one of rock's most famous love stories. For decades, fans assumed Patti's heart belonged to George or Eric, the men who immortalized her in song. But Patti sang those songs, beautiful as they are, came from their vision of her, not the real her. Ronnie, who never wrote a hit single about her, saw the woman behind the myth. Patti's been clear that she doesn't regret her time with George or Eric. They shaped her life and gave her incredible experiences, but her heart was elsewhere. It's a brave thing to admit, especially at 83, when most people would rather let old stories lie. Let's talk about why this matters. Patti's story isn't just about who she loved. It's about her journey to find herself. In the 60s and 70s, she was defined by the men around her. George's wife, Eric's muse, the face of songs that millions adored. But Patti was more than that. She was a woman navigating fame, heartbreak, and the pressure of being a rock star's partner. Her relationships with George and Eric were intense, but they also came with pain. George's detachment left her feeling alone, and Eric's addiction and jealousy wore her down. Ronnie, even if just as a friend, gave her a glimpse of something simpler, something real. Patti's confession is her way of reclaiming her story, saying, "This is who I am, and this is who I loved." The rock world of the 60s and 70s wasn't exactly kind to women. Groupies, muses, and wives were often treated as accessories, their stories overshadowed by the men they inspired. Patti's lived through that, and at 83, she's taking back the narrative. She's not just the woman in Layla or Something, she's Patti Boyd with her own heart, her own choices, and her own truth. Her love for Ronnie Wood, even if it never became a full romance, is a piece of that truth. It's a reminder that love isn't always about grand gestures or epic songs. Sometimes it's about the quiet moments that make you feel seen. What's also fascinating is how this revelation changes how we see George and Eric. Both men wrote masterpieces inspired by Patti, but her confession suggests they didn't fully understand her. George's Something is a beautiful ode, but it came from a man who was often emotionally unavailable. Eric's Layla is a cry of desperation, but was tied to his own struggles as much as his love for her. Ronnie, who never put Patti in a song, gave her something they couldn't, a connection that felt equal. It's a twist that makes you rethink those classic tracks and the stories behind them. For fans, this story adds depth to the music we love. When you listen to Something or Layla, you're hearing pieces of Patti's life, but now you know there's more to her heart. Ronnie Wood, the Rolling Stone who's always been a bit of an underdog, becomes a key player in this drama. It's a testament to the power of human connection, even in the chaotic world of rock and roll. Patti's courage to share this at 83 is inspiring. It's a reminder that it's never too late to tell your truth. So, what do you think? Were you shocked to hear Patti's true love wasn't George or Eric? Do you think she and Ronnie could have been something more? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and let's get the conversation going. If you're loving these deep dives into music history, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe